talk toxicity. My 17-year-old brought this to my attention. We have these terrible toxic relationships, these terrible love-hate relationships within our own home and don't even realize it. Because it's normalized. That was my Oprah imitation. Did it work? I used to want to be Oprah, or did I just want to be your friend? I can't remember. I just want to have an impact. I picked up on it one day because I was like, you know what, Dre? I'm your biggest lover, but I'm also your biggest hater. Like, I love and hate you equally. And I used my hands like this, and I was like, we have balance because we love and hate each other at the same rate. The reason why couples find imbalance is because they swing, they either love each other more or they hate each other more. But if you do it at the same rate, you got something going. That in itself is toxic, I get it, but you know, I'm a work in progress. But we want to know why men love toxic women. Dre tells me all the time I remind me of his grandma. I have yet to hear a positive story about his grandma. Nothing against her, didn't know her. Love you, Willabelle. But he compared me to a woman who I have only heard stories of her being a terror. That's alright, my in-laws don't really like me, so I'm gonna continue talking. But we got that fake love though, and I fake love y'all back. Men like toxic women because their mothers or their fathers are their primary caretakers, but I'm gonna say mothers. Ladies, don't get mad at me, let's heal. Their mothers are their biggest supporters and their biggest lovers, and you know, you want somebody on your team, you want a black mama, cause we gon' big up you all day long. But on the flip side, fall out of line and we gon' get in that ass. Imagine being asleep peacefully in your bed and all of a sudden your lights slam on and somebody slamming your door open and they're yelling at you and sometimes with a belt beating your ass. Imagine taking a shower, washing your body with your washcloth, and then all of a sudden somebody busts in with a belt and they beating your ass because they know that you gonna feel it 10 times worse on a wet body than if you didn't. Imagine trying to learn how to read or learn any type of new activity and the person that is trying to teach that to you is calling you a dummy and asking you why can't you freaking get it? Like, what the Alright, that one may have been a little personal. I've never called my kids a dummy, but I've definitely what the fucked them before. But anyway, the point what I'm making is the reason why men gravitate to toxic women, the reason why they can sit there and say that you remind me of somebody and the person they say that you remind them of is a terror, is because of that toxicity. Because their mothers love them to death, but they're the most toxic person to them. They are their biggest tormentors, and we need to pay attention to that. We don't like the women that our sons are choosing. They're choosing us. So we need to change. And that's all I gotta say about that. And then when we respond to our kids with the same energy for everything, how can not taking the chicken out to thaw receive the same punishment as getting caught smoking weed? I just think those two infractions are different and probably deserve different responses from parents. Like when I'm talking to Dre and he's yelling at the boys and giving them consequences, I'm like, how can the consequence for this be the exact same consequence? Ouch! So when Kendrick Lamar says, are we on 10 yet? Are we on 10 yet? Are we on 10? Parents be on 10 all the damn time. And it's okay, we have to point out the problem in order to solve it. We be out here ready to pop off on a second notice because we were popped off on a second notice in our house. We got the exact same response from our parents for not taking the chicken out as we did for sneaking out and having sex in the closet. Yeah, kids have sex in closets, they have sex in cars. That's our current discussion. What's worse, if you don't want your kid having sex in a car, do you provide them with a place to have sex? Because it's the problem them having sex or the fact that they did it in a car. That's our current discussion right now. Yeah, but people are on edge because we're on edge in our homes. We raised our kids to be on edge. We raised our kids to fear us. We raised our kids to have to give themselves a pep talk before they could come in our room and talk to us. So my daughter all the time tells me, whenever somebody redirects me, it just feels like they're trying to rule over me or control over me, and I have a problem with that. And I imagine a lot of people have a problem with that, and that roots back to our childhoods. Being a little kid and the person towering over you, telling you, this is the way that you do something, and they're, you know, in their little brains, we're like this big, huge giant towering over them, telling them everything that they're doing is wrong and our way is right. I can definitely see that perspective. So now that she's created an issue with being told that she's wrong all the time from her parent or her mother, because I am her primary parent. So now we're out here in the world, and not even as far as the world, but now we're trying to couple with someone, but we have this block from when our parents would constantly correct us, and the way that they corrected us was so off-putting that now when our spouse is trying to give us direction, we automatically bristle up against it. We automatically feel like when somebody's giving us redirection that they're coming for us. Because when our parents gave us redirection, didn't it feel like they was coming for us? Don't do it like this, do it like this. So we have communication issues in the world and in our relationships. Because you got to think, when two people come together, they have two completely different backgrounds. And the only way to be successful in a relationship is if two people take their individual ideologies and meld them. But how can I communicate my philosophy and my perspective to you if every time I say something to you, you get offended? That offense comes from childhood. Let me first say, everything that I say to you guys, I have said to my family and I have said to my husband. So to you guys, it may be a shock. Oh my gosh, she said that. I'm allowed to live in my truth. That's the beautiful thing about my life, is I can say whatever I want to. And I don't say things to offend or to hurt people. That's a filtration system I had to create for myself, being an Aries. And y'all know how we do. We say whatever the hell is on our minds without thinking first. But I ruined enough relationships to realize maybe you want to think before you speak. But I love the fact that I can be myself, I can be in my truth, I can say whatever it is that I want to say, and the people around me are mature enough to receive those comments, those feedbacks, whether they're right or wrong, and not create an issue. It creates an opportunity for us to speak to each other and have those honesty conversations. That's a long-ass disclaimer to say what I'm about to say to you, I have said to my husband. Now, I don't know who my husband was in his prime, but by the time I got that nigga, he was a lemon. And I ain't on his head because I was a lemon too. In my prime, in my day, girl, in my day. But Lonnie today, you know, a little beat up Pinto. But I was a fine automobile in my day. Oh, Bentley looking ass. But the reason why I mentioned when I got with my husband, he was a lemon, was because he wasn't shiny, he wasn't perfect. We all are looking for this perfect package of a man or a woman. And sometimes you got to find that diamond in the rough. Dre, like many of us, didn't receive all the necessary tips and tricks to be successful in life growing up. There we go. I'm telling you, there's something there. So he was out here surviving, and so was I. Now, I knew enough to read a couple of books and get some information behind me, but I still was surviving. But of course, the knowledge that I brought to the relationship, I had to present it to him in a book or in a video form because he wasn't listening to me. To listen to me would be me trying to change him instead of him finding the knowledge for himself and changing for himself. It's the same but different. You see how we bump up against stuff? We don't mean to, but we do. So anyway, my whole point is, don't give up. Because if the person has the character that you desire, Dre had the character. All the other things come with you. You mold your man or you mold your woman into who they need to be for you to be successful for you. And isn't that a whole nother situation? We come into each relationship with the same attitudes as the last failed relationship, and we wonder why the next one fails. There we go with that insanity again. We need to understand that for each relationship, children, spouse, friends, or any particular relationship, we have to follow the instructions necessary to be successful in that particular relationship. The key is a teachable spirit.